Welcome back to Rambling Dan Rowe's Deep Dive Book Reviews, the podcast where we crack open compelling non-fiction and explore how yesterday's stories illuminate today's world. Today, we're reviewing a book that has truly captivated me, both for its rigorous historical detective work and its uncanny resonance with our current moment. Rachel Maddow's Prequel, An American Fight Against Fascism. Now, for those familiar with Rachel Maddow, you know her as the sharp, incisive host of her MSNBC show, known for her deep dives into contemporary politics. And yes, her political perspective is clear. But I want to emphasize, regardless of your own political leanings, Prequel is a vital piece of historical journalism. It's not a polemic. It's a meticulously documented excavation of a genuinely chilling period in American history, reminding us that the fight against fascism isn't just something confined to grainy black and white footage from overseas. It was a very real, very ugly battle that played out on American soil, with Americans actively participating on both sides. And honestly, reading it, you can't help but feel a shiver of recognition, seeing echoes of those battles in our current geopolitical climate and domestic tensions. Maddow plunges us headfirst into the 1930s and early 40s, a period remarkably similar to our own, in its widespread economic pain and deep national uncertainty. The cast of characters she introduces us to are often unbelievable, almost caricature-like, until you realise these were real people with real power or aspirations of it. Take George Sylvester Viereck. Maddow describes him as a German immigrant, American citizen Nazi agent. He was a self-professed sensualist, obsessed with Oscar Wilde, and even wrote what's considered the world's first gay vampire novel. But his true calling, and what made him a menace, was his fervent advocacy for his beloved fatherland. During World War I, he was exposed as a paid agent of the German government, bankrolling his pro-German publishing efforts. Imagine that, openly publishing what amounts to foreign propaganda while being secretly funded by a hostile power. It sounds like something pulled straight from a modern-day spy thriller, but this was real. Then there's Father Charles Coughlin, the infamous radio priest. Maddow details how this antisemitic Catholic clergyman commanded an audience in the tens of millions. His weekly radio broadcasts were a platform for increasingly gruesome and alarming details of a sinister plot, destroying the America he and his listeners loved. He serialized the protocols of the Elders of Zion in his weekly magazine Social Justice, and after Kristallnacht in November 1938, Coughlin, with chilling callousness, essentially blamed Germany's Jews for the violence, calling Nazism a defense mechanism against communism. What's truly terrifying is that he started calling for a Franco-style armed revolt from his followers, with the paramilitary Christian Front in the vanguard. He even twisted the theology of St. Thomas Aquinas to justify violence against perceived tyrants, implying that President Roosevelt, whom he insinuated was Jewish, and therefore a communist, was just such a tyrant. It's a stark reminder of how religious fervour can be twisted to justify extreme, violent political action. And then we meet William Dudley Pelley. This man believed he had been visited multiple times by Jesus and pined after the job of America's Hitler. He founded the Nazi wannabe Silver Shirts and used his weekly newsletter, the Silver Legion Ranger, to peddle antisemitic poison. He openly called for the wholesale and drastic outing of every radical-minded Jew from the United States soil. Maddow reveals that Pelley's followers were even passing around the protocols of the meetings of the learned elders of Zion. The FBI compiled a massive 717-page dossier on him, detailing his prodigiously vicious political legacy. What truly struck me was Pelley's willingness to use his own compulsive resentments as a tool, manufacturing them for mass consumption, precisely when millions of Americans were looking for someone to blame for the Great Depression. It's a testament to how economic hardship can be exploited to fuel hatred and authoritarian fantasies. One of the most unsettling yet crucial aspects of Prequel is Maddow's meticulous revelation of the Nazis' active interest in American race law. She writes, "Awful it may be to contemplate, but the reality is that the Nazis took a sustained, significant, and sometimes even eager interest in the American example of race law. Heinrich Krieger, a young German attorney, was dispatched to the University of Arkansas School of Law in 1933 to study Jim Crow laws, immigration laws, and Indian treaties. These laws, which created a tiered system of justice and legally privileged white men as a ruling race, provided a conceptual prototype for Nazi legislation. The Nazis admired the American legal system's Umweg, secret and twisting passageways of reasoning that allowed for politically desirable outcomes despite constitutional guarantees of equality. This is a profoundly uncomfortable truth that the Nazis, in their horrific pursuit of racial purity, found inspiration in aspects of American legal practice. It's a stark reminder that the fight against fascism abroad was, and still is, deeply intertwined with the struggle for civil rights and racial justice here at home. Beyond the disturbing characters and historical revelations, Prequel is also a masterclass in exposing the vulnerabilities of democratic systems. Maddow meticulously details how powerful Americans, including elected officials, were either witting or unwitting accomplices in these foreign-backed schemes. We learn about congressmen and senators who, often driven by personal animus towards President Roosevelt or a sincere if misguided isolationism, actively colluded with Nazi agents like Viereck. They used their congressional franking privilege, literally free postage subsidized by American taxpayers, to distribute millions of pieces of German propaganda. Imagine that. American tax dollars inadvertently funding propaganda designed to divide and weaken the nation. It's a chilling reminder of how easily democratic mechanisms can be subverted from within. But Prequel is not just a tale of complicity and dark forces. Maddow makes sure to highlight the unsung American heroes who picked up the slack when official channels failed. Take Leon Lewis, a Jewish veteran of World War I, whom Maddow describes as an anti-fascist spy master of Southern California. Lewis, driven by the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, or world repair, single-handedly built and nurtured a secret spy ring to infiltrate Nazi and fascist groups in Los Angeles. His agents uncovered plots, like the one involving US Marines selling guns to American fascists, or a scheme to seize military armories on the West Coast. Yet for years, law enforcement agencies like the FBI were largely missing in action, as Maddow shows us, obsessively focused on the communist threat instead of the very real fascist one. Chief James Two-Gun Davis of the LAPD, for instance, famously told Lewis, "You don't get it. Hitler's only trying to save Germany from the Jewish problem. The real threat is not from the Nazis and fascists, but it's from all those communists in Boyle Heights." This official blindness to homegrown extremism is a powerful and sadly familiar thread running through the book. Another remarkable figure is Henry Hoke, a direct mail advertising guru. His intrepid, personally funded investigation began when his son, attending the University of Pennsylvania, started receiving anti-war, pro-Nazi propaganda shoved under his dorm room door. Hoke, an expert in hard-sell propaganda, immediately recognized the increasing sophistication of the obviously well-financed German propaganda campaign. He published his findings in his trade magazine, The Reporter of Direct Mail Advertising, in an exposé titled War in the Mails. In the face of threats, lawsuits, and dismissals from postal inspectors and FBI agents who initially told him it wasn't illegal, Hoke persisted. He recognized that the misuse of that freedom of speech and press is more dangerous now than hordes of bombers. His work was instrumental in exposing the Nazi propaganda operation inside Congress, proving that Senator Wheeler was allowing a German organization to make promiscuous use of his frank. Hoke's story is a testament to the power of citizen journalism and the courage required to pursue truth when it's uncomfortable. One of the key criticisms that some historians, even at the time, leveled against the idea of a widespread fascist threat in America was that many of these figures were simply crackpots. Maddow directly confronts this. Through detailed accounts from FBI files and trial transcripts, she demonstrates that these were often well-armed groups with detailed plans for overthrowing the government. She details how the Christian Front, led by John F. Cassidy, stockpiled bombs, cordite explosives, and thousands of rounds ready to be fed into stolen military machine guns. While the press at the time sometimes dismissed the Christian Front's coup plan as a playful plot, Maddow's research, including access to previously sealed FBI files, reveals that they had real support inside the National Guard and the New York City Police Department. This isn't just about eccentric individuals, it's about organized, dangerous movements that were actively undermining American democracy. The book's most powerful critique, however, is reserved for the US government's own leadership. Maddow details how, despite growing evidence of a dangerous fascist insurgency, figures like J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI, seemed unprepared and overdressed, and more concerned with fictional communist threats than real Nazi ones. And in the most shocking turn of events, Maddow describes how William Power Maloney, the Justice Department prosecutor, leading the federal investigation into Nazi propaganda and sedition, was effectively promoted out of his job after facing windy threats of investigation from implicated members of Congress, including Senator Burton K. Wheeler. His successor, O. John Roge, a brilliant and fearless prosecutor who had successfully dismantled Huey Long's corrupt machine in Louisiana, faced a similar fate. After meticulously gathering evidence from captured Nazi officials in post-war Germany, confirming widespread collaboration with powerful Americans, Roge was fired by Attorney General Tom Clark, who later became a Supreme Court justice, under pressure from Harry Truman, and, once again, Senator Wheeler. The decision to suppress Roge's report, which detailed the spread of Nazi influence in America, was, as Maddow puts it, a morally fraught barrel that the US government chose to avoid. This brings us to the book's title, Prequel. Maddow isn't just recounting a forgotten history, she's drawing a direct line to our present. The calculated efforts to undermine democracy, to foment a coup, to spread disinformation across the country, to overturn elections by force of arms with members of Congress helping and running interference, these are not unprecedented. The stories of these American fascists, their lies and disinformation, their Hitler love, their white supremacist antisemitic derangement, did not simply splinter and vanish. Maddow argues that our current American struggle along these lines, it turns out, has a prequel. In closing, Prequel, An American Fight Against Fascism is more than just a history book. It's a compelling, unsettling, and profoundly relevant narrative for our times. It's a stark reminder that the battle for democracy is a continuous one, fought not just on battlefields abroad, but often in the halls of power, in the media, and in the hearts and minds of citizens right at home. It's a call to vigilance, to understand the tactics of those who seek to undermine democracy, and to recognize the importance of the often unseen heroes who stand against them. Prequel is a challenging read at times, but it's an essential one. Pick it up, read it for yourself, and join this crucial conversation, because understanding this prequel is the first step toward writing a better future. Until next time, stay curious and keep reading.